They say, you already know more than you think, but the problem is not your intelligence. It's that no one ever taught you how to read people. From the moment you're born, you're trained to listen to words, but Nietzsche warned us, words lie. The truth? It leaks from the cracks, in silences, in glances, in tension. This isn't a surface level, how to read body language trick. It's a way of seeing the human soul, beginning with the first 6 psychological truths Nietzsche left behind. 1. Everyone wears a mask, not because they're fake, but because they're afraid. People don't show up as themselves. They show up as the version of themselves they hope will be accepted. The overly nice friend? They might not be kind. They might just be terrified of rejection. The confident coworker, behind the smile, might be someone trembling, praying no one sees their fear. Nietzsche once wrote, every deep spirit needs a mask, not to deceive, but to survive. Masks are not evil. They are armor, but armor always cracks. And the first sign is tension. What makes someone uncomfortable? That's where the real person begins. 2. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. Nietzsche called it projection. We don't criticize others because we're objective. We do it to deflect. The person who constantly calls others arrogant, they're likely ashamed of their own self-worth. The person who attacks dishonesty, they may be lying to themselves. Pay attention to what someone criticizes. That's not just opinion, it's a confession. 3. Silence reveals more than speaking. Nietzsche didn't trust words. He believed language was often used to hide, not reveal. When someone pauses too long before answering, when they change the subject, when they give short, rehearsed replies, those aren't just quirks. They're shields. Their silence screams louder than their words. If you want to read someone, listen not to what they say, but to what they avoid saying. 4. Excessive morality is often disguised superiority. Have you ever met someone who always plays the moral police, always calling out others, always the good one? Nietzsche believed that virtue signaling is often ego in disguise. The louder the preaching, the more likely it's hiding something. True morality doesn't need applause. It's quiet. It shows up when no one's watching. 5. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. When someone says, I'm fine, I don't care, I've moved on, they might believe it, but that doesn't make it true. Nietzsche understood self-deception as a form of survival. People rehearse lies so often, they become their script. So when someone tells a story that doesn't add up, they're not just trying to trick you. They've been tricking themselves far longer. The inconsistencies in their story. That's where the truth lives. 6. Wherever someone feels superior, they are hiding inferiority. This one cuts deep. Nietzsche said, the need to dominate is the fear of being small. That person who keeps bragging about success, they likely feel unseen. The one who mocks others, they probably fear being laughed at themselves. Real strength doesn't scream. It doesn't compete. It just is. Behind every crown is often a scared child trying to feel enough. 7. People crave control, not because they're powerful, but because they're powerless. Control is not a sign of strength. It's a response to fear. When someone tries to control your schedule, your emotions, or your choices, they're not acting from confidence. They're acting from panic. Deep inside, they fear being abandoned, ignored, or overwhelmed. Nietzsche saw this need for control as a way to avoid chaos, not just in the world, but within. The more afraid someone is of their own emotional storms, the more they try to manage yours. So if someone is always micromanaging, criticizing, or over-involved, it's not about you. It's about their inner instability. 8. The victim can sometimes become the manipulator. Not all victims are innocent, and not all pain is pure. Nietzsche believed that suffering, if not processed, can become a weapon. Some people use their pain to gain power. They use guilt to control. They use their wounds as a shield to avoid accountability. You try to help them, but somehow you always end up feeling like the bad guy. You're walking on eggshells. You're constantly apologizing for things you didn't even do. This is emotional manipulation disguised as fragility. And Nietzsche would remind us, just because someone is hurting doesn't mean they're harmless. 9. The person who needs constant praise is the most insecure. Ever met someone who needs to be complimented all the time, who constantly posts their achievements online, who needs to be reassured every few hours. Nietzsche would say, beware the person who shines too brightly. They are often the ones who fear the dark. That endless hunger for validation. It's not vanity, it's fear. Fear of being invisible. Fear of being unworthy. Ironically, the louder someone screams, "Look at me," the more likely they feel unseen. True confidence doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need applause. It's quiet. Still, rooted in inner security, not external noise. 10. The person who can't be alone is avoiding themselves. Nietzsche believed solitude wasn't punishment. It was a teacher. But today, many people fill every silence with distraction. Scrolling, chatting, drinking, overworking. Why? Because silence brings them face to face with their shadow, and they don't want to see what's there. The person who jumps from relationship to relationship, who fears being alone for even a day. They're not just looking for love. They're trying to escape their own thoughts, their own reflection. Nietzsche once said, "He who cannot bear solitude will never know true freedom," because real growth doesn't come from constant connection. It comes from sitting still with yourself. 11. The most dangerous people are the ones who believe they are good. This sounds strange, but Nietzsche saw it again and again. Those who believe they are unquestionably good are the ones most capable of justifying harm, because once someone is convinced of their righteousness, they stop questioning their actions. They stop self-reflecting. They become blind to the damage they cause, because they believe their intentions are pure. This is how cruelty hides under the banner of doing the right thing. The people who frightened Nietzsche were not the ones who sinned openly, but those who sinned with a clear conscience. 12. The strongest person you know has likely suffered in silence. Nietzsche never romanticized pain, but he believed that suffering, when faced honestly, forges resilience. That friend who always shows up, who holds space for others, who seems unshakable. Don't assume they've had it easy. Chances are they faced their own demons, alone, and instead of collapsing, they chose to grow stronger. The most grounded people are not the loudest or the toughest. They're the ones who've endured, learned, and stayed kind anyway. As Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But what he didn't say was, only if you choose to face it. Closing reflection. Each of these truths is uncomfortable. They challenge what we think we know about people, about ourselves. But Nietzsche didn't write to make us comfortable. He wrote to make us see, to stop assuming, to stop accepting the surface, to look deeper, into people, into culture, into the self. If you're still here, ask yourself, which of these truths have you seen in others? And more importantly, which have you seen in yourself? In part 3, we'll explore the next 6 truths and dive even deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy of human behavior. Stay curious, stay awake, and above all, stay honest. 13. No one speaks from logic. They speak from pain. You've probably met someone who seems deeply rational. They speak in facts, argue with logic, dismiss emotions. But Nietzsche warns us, this is often a defense, because behind every rational worldview is an emotional wound. A man who says, love is an illusion, he was likely betrayed. A woman who claims, you can't trust anyone, she was likely abandoned. The logic is real, but it's protecting something much older, much deeper. So when you hear someone's beliefs, ask not just, what do they think? Ask, what hurt made them think that? That question changes everything. Suddenly, the coldness isn't cruelty, it's protection. The anger isn't hatred, it's fear. And that shift, that's when understanding begins. 14. How someone responds to weakness reveals their strength. You want to see someone's true character, watch how they treat the powerless. Nietzsche believed that real power wasn't domination, it was restraint. The truly strong don't need to humiliate, belittle, or destroy. They don't mock the weak, they hold space for them. So when someone sees a mistake and responds with patience, that's strength. When someone forgives when they could punish, that's strength. When someone listens without needing to fix, that's strength. The loudest person in the room isn't the strongest. The one who can stay silent, stay kind, and stay grounded, that's the one who's already won their inner war. 15. Those who fear being forgotten chase attention. You've seen them. The friend who always needs to be the center of every conversation. the influencer who posts 5 times a day, the person who can't stand silence. At first, it looks like confidence, but Nietzsche says it's actually grief. The grief of a child who felt invisible, the ache of someone who was never really seen. And now they perform, not because they want applause, but because they're terrified of disappearing. Attention becomes a substitute for love, and performance becomes a survival skill. So next time someone seems too much, don't roll your eyes. Ask, what silence are they running from? Because sometimes the loudest people are the loneliest. 16. The person they attack is often the one they envy. Here's a hot truth. Hate and envy wear the same face. Nietzsche believed that when we see someone embodying a part of ourselves we've rejected, it doesn't inspire us. It threatens us. So instead of saying, I want that too, we say, they don't deserve it. Instead of admiring their freedom, their joy, their success, we tear them down. It's not hatred, it's pain. The pain of knowing we could have been like them, if only we believed we were allowed. That's why so many people attack what they secretly long for, because it reminds them of what they've given up on. So if someone criticizes you for being bold, bright, or free, ask yourself, what are they afraid they'll never become? 17. People act out their childhood, not their beliefs. You might think adults act from principles, but Nietzsche would say they act from patterns. A child who was ignored becomes an adult who talks too much. A child who was shamed becomes an adult who shames others. A child who had to earn love becomes an adult who performs endlessly, even in pain. These aren't conscious choices. They're scripts, inherited, rehearsed, repeated. People don't change because they don't know they're acting. They think, this is just who I am. But really, it's who they had to become. So if you want to understand someone, truly understand them, don't just ask, who are you? Ask, who did you have to be to survive your childhood? 18. People's patterns are confessions, if you know how to listen. This is the final, most profound truth, and it changes everything. You don't need to be psychic to read someone. Just watch the pattern. The person who always disappears when things get real. They fear abandonment, so they leave first. The one who jokes about everything. They were taught that seriousness leads to pain. The one who works endlessly, but never rests. They believe stillness makes them unworthy. Nietzsche taught us that behavior is biography, and repetition is a message, a confession. This is how I protect myself. This is what I lost. This is what I'm still afraid of. When you see that, really see that, you stop judging, you start witnessing, you start offering grace, and in that moment, you become more than a reader of people. You become a mirror, not to hurt them, but to help them remember who they really are beneath the mask. You've made it through all 18 truths, and by now, something inside you has shifted. You no longer just hear what people say, you hear what they're not saying. You no longer just watch what they do, you understand why they do it. But here's the deeper revelation. This was never just about them. It was always about you. Because the person you've been learning to read, the one behind the smile, behind the posture, behind the pattern, is also staring back at you in the mirror. You are the one who sometimes performs instead of connects. You are the one who says, I'm fine, while holding back tears. You are the one who's been shaped, not just by dreams, but by survival. And that's not a flaw. That's the story of being human. Nietzsche didn't teach these insights to make us cynical. He taught them so we could wake up. Wake up to the fact that beneath every mask, yours or someone else's, lives something sacred. A wound, a longing, a soul still trying to be seen without fear. So now what? Now you have a choice. You can use this awareness to judge more harshly, or to listen more deeply, to manipulate, or to heal, to prove you're right, or to choose empathy. Because awareness without compassion becomes arrogance. But awareness with compassion, that's wisdom, that's power, that's freedom. And here's the final secret Nietzsche would want you to know. You're not here to become a perfect reader of others. You're here to become real, to remove your own mask, to stop hiding your softness, your contradictions, your uncertainty. Because when you let people see the whole of you, not just your strengths, but your shadows, you give them silent permission to do the same. This is what the world is starving for. Not more perfection, not more performance, but people who are willing to be seen, really seen. So if this video helped you understand others, but more importantly, helped you understand yourself, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment. Which of the 18 truths cracked something open in you? Which mask are you ready to take off? And if you're ready to keep exploring the hidden patterns, the unspoken fears, and the deeper truths behind human nature, subscribe, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new way of living, a life where you don't just look at people, you see them, and in doing so, you finally see yourself.